Hayden, thanks so much for coming onto the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited and keen.
Yeah, pumped. So last night we all chilled, hung out. We had like a big group of us here.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome just connecting with the boys again and seeing new faces as well. So
yeah, because like you met most of those guys at the next level, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, sick. I'm actually really interested and curious to talk to you because like you've been in the army for ages. You were like, I can't remember the correct term, like squad leader at like a really young age.
A corporal or lance corporal.
Yep.
Yeah, age 21, 22. So yeah,
it's like a bit of a deal, hey.
It is, yeah. And especially when it's like forced on you. Like, hey, it's like I was a digger. I was happy to just like get told what to do, and then they're like, all of a sudden, hey, you're going on promotion, and I'm like, I don't want to have to tell other people what to do. Like, I'm happy just chilling, and you get forced into doing that, and you grow obviously, and you're 22, and then you're telling other 26-year-old and 28-year-olds what to go do and lead in that, and you're just like, what the hell? I'm not qualified.
You were Lance Corporal, and then like you wanted to shift into other business stuff. What happened there?
Yeah, so from learning all that experience from stepping up into a leader and sort of not wanting to, and then having to break that belief of I can't do that, I can't lead people or anything like that. So that changing, and then when I finally got out of the army, I was like, what am I doing with my life? And you kind of go into a little bit of a pit and try and find yourself, and because that was like a whole programming in army where that is what you are, and then you get out and you kind of don't have that purpose or anything anymore, so you got to try and find it. And then I always saw these people in business, and they're always like so successful and having all these things and being able to do the time and freedom and whatever they wanted. So I was like, that's something I would like to live. So business was that avenue to get there, and I had a bit of interest to do it. So did a few like workshops, like veteran workshops where there was veterans in business, and they were already running their own business and doing all that, and that sort of sparked my interest. And then to go from there, people were showing me that were already in business, showing what they could do with business, and I was like, this is something I can go into. So
sick. And what is your business?
Right now I do a fire safety company so we do like fire maintenance, like extinguishers. We do fire training, compliance, evacuation diagrams. So everything like a business that, if you're a brick and mortar business and you're like, I have no idea how to do compliance stuff with all the law, we come in and help you and do that. So it's the same thing with training. It's we come into the businesses and train your wardens, the chief wardens, evacuation, runs all that sort of thing. And a lot of businesses are like, we have no idea how to do that. So I'm like, yeah, I'll come in and help you. With my previous experience with doing emergencies and stuff, everything's like, everything's on fire, run, get out of the building, So yeah.
No, that's cool. One thing I'm really interested to talk about with you is like sort of like the culture that you have like in the army and like the masculine culture, and then with like joining the Set the Standard community, coming to one of our retreats. Like, what were the things that what was the culture like, and then what were the things that you learned that changed your belief? Like, oh, this used to be belief, now it's here. And then how's that like impacted you now?
Yeah, so it's a big one with army culture. It's like super masculinity. That's just like dudes trying to be better, and there's just got all these alphas everywhere, and who's better than who, and very competition wise. But at the same time, it sort of reminds me of like a footy team. You're all still a part of the same thing, and you want to do better because you want to beat the other team, and obviously that would be another country or whatever everyone else is doing. But it also brings a lot of toxic stuff in there as well, as in like dudes come in, bring their trauma, different signs of different people, walks of life as well. Like a lot of people I find that to join the army, you might be running away from something. For me, it was actually, I'm not a man. I'm just a short little dude that just didn't, so I was like, I got to go do the hardest thing that I can do to be able to become a man. So stepping in that, and then, I was only 18 when I joined. So seeing these other dudes that are in there, and this is the standard that they're setting. And had high level people in there already, and dudes that come from like being chippy for 6 years. And then they're like, I wanted to push myself. So you have a lot of good things as well, where people are there to push themselves, be absolutely fit as hell, and do things and push themselves to go special forces and everything. So, and the skills and technical stuff you do learn. The camaraderie is the biggest thing. So the thing is, I found that the more harder the stuff that you go through with people, the deeper the connection is, the more vulnerable you are as well. So, you see dudes to your left and right when you're pack marching for days on end, 15 kilometres. You look to your right and you're like, I want to give up. But you look to old mate and he's still going and he's got your back. So you're like, yeah, man, we've got a really, special bond, and you'll keep going. So that is sort of the culture of army. You kind of stick together. It's like a new family. you ran away from your old family, you got posted to another position in Australia, and that is now your new family, and you'll do whatever and, you know, die for them or whatever it is. So that was sort of the army culture, I guess, like a big footy team, but, you know, you're all there, but at the same time there's a lot of competition too. And then sort of realising, you know, when you're out, you do lose a lot of that because you go off to back to your hometown or back to wherever you're, a new life, new start. So then seeing Set the Standard, where there's a bunch of dudes the same thing, but these guys are here to grow and just support you and just help you just go to that next level. And speaking of which, going to a next level like the event, just seeing dudes, again, we've been all vulnerable, we're in a hard situation, or, you know, being pushed out of our limits and it's uncomfortable, but everyone else you look around is uncomfortable, and they're all there to just support you and be there. So that was what I really liked, like the correlation with Army and Set the Standard, but in a better way, if that makes sense. So with all that, you know, competitive, it's like, no, we're here to like help you. So yeah.
That's some of the toxic stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, like, what did you learn? Like in terms of like yourself and like your own awareness and like handling and dealing with your own emotions. Cause I remember even like last night you talked about when you're like, oh yeah, when we were in the army, there's like bombs going off, or I'm sitting there and there's like, we're always on edge in case like a truck or someone's going to come shoot at us or some shit.
Yep.
And like everyone's real wired. And then like I come here and I had to like work through all this other stuff that I went through. Like, what was like the sort of correlations and like the lessons for you?
Yeah, so I noticed I was holding a big shield. I just had this whole shield to like stop all these emotions. I was just like, I don't want to deal with this, like block, and then having this massive shield around. I'm like, yeah, I'll block everything I can. And then like, yeah, understanding that like I can just drop that shield and then like just let all the emotions flow in, and then just accept that they're coming in and feeling them, acknowledging them, and then just like being able to express it back as well.
So what was your shield, by the way? What was like the ego shield that was there?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I think the biggest one was like just try not to get judged, just the fear of judgment sort of thing on me being my true authentic self, and then being judged for that. Whereas I was putting the shield up and sort of a facade to be like, oh, what they would like me to be instead. So, you know, when I dropped that, I was like, no, I'm just going to be myself. And I found that it was so much better just being me. And so I just dropped that shield.
Were you doing that in the army? Were you like, you know, trying to like prove yourself?
Yeah. And you're also like trying to fit in as well, because it's such a environment where you're like, if you're like, I've been injured, I've had a knee reconstruction in the army, and like when you're injured, I can't do the things that everyone's doing at the moment. So you're sort of, you're in the shit kicker list over there, and it's called like your linger or whatever, which is a bad term, but it's like you can't do the job anymore, so you're shit, if that makes sense. And you put in that, you know, you see that you're in that group of just being injured, and I had a knee reconstruction. I couldn't physically do stuff for probably 12 months until I was back to rehab and all that. So yeah, that's just the big one I noticed with that. But you know, and when you're back into the job, you're fully fit to go, then yeah, everyone, and then you really see that shift with, Heath, you're smashing it, you're doing footy in the army, you're doing all these things, it's all cool, and getting on the courses that you like and everything. You get injured, and it's like, oh, hey man, you're shit anything. But when you're back, you'll be right, you'll be sweet, or like they just, you know, switch. So you kind of like, oh, you're not really my mate. You're not supporting me when I'm at my lowest or my highest as well. Does that make sense? So yeah, it was a big sort of shift change to go, oh, okay, these guys might not always be there for me, if that makes sense.
It's sort of like, oh, we are a number.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You do see your real friends though, the ones that are there for you when you are low in the army as well. But yeah, you do see a lot of, I guess, just do another number. They don't call you sometimes by your name either. Private or, you know, Lance Corporal or Corporal or fucking, whatever it is.
What about, in terms of when you were in the army, what were like some of the most intense sort of traumatic experiences that you had there? And then what lessons did you learn that helped you cope with that? Yeah, so there's a few off the top of my head. One in particularly was when I stepped up into the leadership role as a Lance Corporal. That's like the mother of the section. So your section's usually like 6 to 8 dudes. You'll have the dad, which is the corporal. He makes all the decisions like commanding, you know, go over there, go do this and fight there. Whereas the 2IC runs around, does like the ammo, looks after the boys, makes sure they've got enough water to be able to keep going and that. And then they still have their own little command in the brick as well. And then you have your diggers that are the workers and the soldiers really as well. So everyone's a soldier, but, you know, with the leadership and all that. With
that I got forced into that after I did like 3 or 4 years, and on the 4th year I was into my promotional courses doing that, and then I got my rank, and then I had to look after a bunch of dudes. And I'm always very I always like look after the boys very, keep them together and make sure everyone's always good. And I've always done that sort of bit of like people pleasing as well. But the biggest one was one of our boys in our section actually he committed suicide 2 months or a month before deployment, and that hit me the hardest probably I've ever had in life. It just like punched me in the face and was like, hey, you're a shit leader because one of your boys is gone. And you're like, yeah, it was just it was probably one of the things that really woke me up and go, whoa, you need to I thought I was doing a good job, and there's nothing you can do, but at the same time, it's so hard not to blame yourself for like, you could have done better. You could have helped him out here. You could have done this and X, Y, Z. So that was probably like one of the biggest, hits in the face, and really, yeah.
How did that affect you? Like in everyday life, how did that affect you?
It showed up, like anger, like just destroying myself, saying, "You shit, you didn't do this, you couldn't be there." So I'd just go to the gym and go, fuck this, and just get to a bag and just punch a bag and just let it all out and just do as much. Like you had a whole minute, and I would just be like, boom, 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 like that, and then I'm like, stop, and then the 1 minute, and I'm like, I'm still angry, and then I'll just keep going, and it's like, people walking past the gym is like, this guy's going ham on this bag, no technique, just flowing hands and shit. So it showed up in anger as well, like as in with people. So in my head, I didn't show it, but if, Sarge came up to me and he's like, you need to get your boys doing this and this, and I'm like, oh, fucking want to punch your head in, hey. Like just super angry all the time, and I wasn't showing it, but inside I could feel it, and just, it just was tearing me up inside.
Did it affect you whenever you got back home? Whenever you went back home?
It did actually. In my relationship, it did actually at the time. I got home and didn't really feel supported either and understood, which made me more angry. Like, why isn't no one understanding why I'm so angry all the time? So, it showed up, like that. Another one was overseas. Like there's a few, we do 6 months. So I went to Afghan for 6-7 months. And there's always like trauma in anything with war and all that sort of thing. You've had like bombs over vehicles going off and around you and everything, like the alarms going off. You're on a convoy and you're always like peeking, looking around what's going on. So that experience itself is just like in a high stress stress environment for 6 months straight. You get home to Australia and you're like, we're so safe here, like just chill. But it's like you've just been practicing programming for 6 months, going like, I'm so wired right now, and and all that stuff happened. So losing the mate, dealing with that, carrying him in the funeral, doing all that sort of thing, that process, and then like a month or two later, we were deploying straight to go to Afghanistan, and we had to replace that guy in a section, and I had to get the boys, and it's pre-deployment too, so you do all this training before you go. So it's not like, you just went 6 months, deployment. Before that, you've had 6 months of hard training to be able to get to that stage of going over. So it's more like a whole 12-month cycle of you just doing everything. And as a 2RC, you run around making sure your boys' admins are squared away, just looking after everyone, making sure, because you wear it and take ownership of like, hey, this boy's hasn't got any of this submitted, and you're like, that's my fault because I'm the guy who's supposed to get him to that stage. So it's just so hectic. It was just a big hectic time of my life. And then I got back from overseas the second day and broke up with my long-term partner for 6 years. We became high school sweethearts. So it was all just like that deployment, come back, new relationship. I was in old relationship, left, and then I was like, who am I? It's like so much stuff happened, and it was, as much as like at the time I was like, I freaking hate my life and this is so much, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
And then what were the things that you learnt specifically and like experiences that you had which helped you like get back to you?
There's so many off the top of my head. I think the biggest one is acknowledging like emotions and feeling them. So, why is just getting to that why, where's this stem from? Like I'd be sitting there angry, and I'd sit in the anger and go, why am I feeling this? So getting the knowledge to be able to understand why I'm angry and where it stems from. Okay, it stems from this. Okay, well, there's not much you can do about it. It's in the past. It's that past stuff. Like you've beaten yourself up, shame, guilt, all that sort of thing. So a big lesson was just self-awareness and identifying where is it coming from, and then trying to find the way to best deal with it.
Have you got a story of when that like popped up? If you were like talking to someone, calling someone, you're reflecting, journaling, and you're like, oof.
Yeah. I think I noticed a big one on in the next level after the anger exercise that we did. You know, we got all this. I got all this anger out. This exercise was amazing, and it came out. And then I sort of just.
What was it that came out? 'Cause I remember punching you in the chest, but I can't remember what everyone said.
It's just like it was like, I think he came up to you and you've been holding it back and just cheating me up to just, you know, he's like, this is a time where you just like let it out. And I was like, you know what, 100%. This is like, you gave me that gateway to just be like, let everything go. And I'm like, yeah. And then that's why I was saying like, let's fucking go. Cause I was like, I'm just going to let everything out. And it came out. And then after it just felt like a spirit had just like left, like this big angry demon thing just came out and it just like fucked off. And then I just was like sitting there and going, okay, wow, that's what it's like to not be angry anymore. Or like, it's like all that shame, guilt, just like it just fucked off as a big demon out. See you later, mate. Like you're gone.
No possessing me anymore.
You ain't coming back, son.
That's great. It makes me emotional. You saying that? Like, whoa, that was hectic in there.
Yeah, like you're just like the gateway. That's like, hey, there's this big demon inside you, like anger, and you know, and then you just gave me permission to like let it out, and it's
What was it? What were you telling yourself? Like, what was the thing that you were letting out? Like, and the things that you were saying to yourself.
I think it was stop holding on to something that was out of your control. And I think that's where it comes from. Like the anger is like that's another big one. When I get angry, I'm thinking, why am I getting angry? It's because it's I can't control the situation I'm in. So now, you know, like if I'm in traffic or something, I'm angry that I'm not getting there, or I'm angry at something. I'm like, hey, I can't control this. So what's the point of me being angry about it? But that's where I've identifying that's where the anger is I can't control the situation. Oh, I'll get angry about it. And I'm like, no, you can't control it. So why bother getting angry over it? Yeah.
So you went crazy, exercise, demon went, and then what were you sort of thinking and reflecting on afterwards?
I think it was a big life reflecting. Like it was just like one of those montages of all the stuff that was a build up from me losing a mate, and then you know, deployment, and then you know the ex stuff as well. Didn't mention that, but also got money at the same time. So when that deployment happened, they got back, break up, and then 2 or 3 months later, got sued for like 23K or something, or lost. Or it was 80K.
What from?
Originally.
What did you get sued for?
You know how not sued, but like I want half of your money. Sort of thing. Yeah, that kind of thing with relationships, and when you've been with someone for a couple of years,
half your possessions are theirs.
Yeah, so I got stabbed with 80K. And had to go through lawyers and got down to like 23. So I was pretty lucky. But again, just that, because I had my own house, I was just financing this person. So that was another big anger one, is that someone can literally use the law to grab to my money. It's like if I was back in the day where I had a big gold behind me and a dragon there to guard it, and there was me and there was this person, it's like, you can't touch my gold because I'll, you know, do whatever to defend it. But in this day and age, they can just use papers and, you know, lawyers to just like go around and just pick your gold and then take it from you. And you're like, so that was a big anger one.
It's crazy because you're like not married or anything either.
No,
you know?
It's just no kids, nothing. So it's just, and that's why I was getting angry at the law, like just so angry at things like, how can people do this to me? And it's just like, you know, yeah. So that was another big anger, like that ball of that. I think it was probably 1.5 years to deal with, of just all that shit happening. So it really took the time to get on top of that anger, and hey, look, you were it's out of your control. Like,
and like what happened for you? Like, what outcomes happened for you once you got rid of it? This is crazy, by the way.
I think I did spiral in a bit where it was, so after that point I did spiral into, I was a single life, and then also getting out of the army, and then also then I went to turn to party and drinking and all that stuff. Even though we're drinking through that, army has a huge drinking, going out culture. Like after you get back from exercise, everyone celebrates. Like we just did 2 weeks outfield, no showers, nothing, eating on rat packs. You're all like skinny, and then you'll get your beers straight into you're drunk off like 2 or 3 beers, and you just get plastered and you love each other and all that stuff. But like that's a massive culture. So I just sort of reverted back to that when I got out of the army. I was like, all right, I'm going to do the same thing out in the civvy world and do that. So I did spiral to like doing alcohol on the and parties on the weekends and stuff. And it got to a point where I got locked down in COVID in Melbourne, and it sort of just sat with me that I was like, what trajectory am I on my path? And I need to find some stuff. So the big learning point was just really just self-awareness, and like the exercise in our is like, if I continue this path in 5 years, where will I be? And it's like, you'll still be the same. And that's something I didn't like looking at into the future.
Yeah, what was that reflection for you, looking like and staring that? And then, because a lot of people, some people can tell people to do stuff, right? They'll be like, oh yeah, so like map out your future, map your 5 year goals out, map the ones of what you'd be like now if you didn't change anything. And then people actually don't do it. Or they're like, oh, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to face that. And you're like, well, if you want to make a change, as people say, you got to face the pain. You know, the deeper the roots to hell, the closer the tree gets to heaven. So what was that like for you? Yeah,
it was a really good exercise, because it just literally, I was like, okay, I never really stopped and reflected on what the future was. It's kind of, I was just kind of flowing with life and doing whatever came towards
you. Forget, hey.
Yeah.
You just forget to even think or map or plan goals or anything. You're just like, next minute, it's like, life's taking me, I'm not taking life.
Yeah, literally, just live each day without any plans or anything, and just like, it's like going into a forest and just walking around in a forest. I've not even got an axe or anything. I'm not even chipping away trying to make a pathway for wherever I want to be to make my house. I'm just going around this forest going, well, that's cool. Oh, there's mushies. And just
tree mushies.
Just having a walk,
hanging out. Yeah, it's like that is like the worst way to be, I think, because it's like so unconscious. Yeah. Like unless you've like sort of transcended the rest of the stuff, and you're like, your intention is to just be in the forest and you've figured it out, and you're like, I'm going to be here, see what happens, and ride, because everything else, if you're not that conscious, then it's like, you got to look at things.
It's like, I was reading that Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. Yeah. And he was like, I've done a few of the exercises in his book. I haven't done the whole thing, but it's more like just sitting back and watching like Hayden driving in a car. Just like watch him do, what is he doing? I'm like, just driving, step back and just have a look at yourself. And like, he's just going in the modern world, just driving his car to work or wherever it's going. And I found that's a good one to like go back to the present and get that self-awareness of like, just pull yourself out of there and just like watch Hayden. Like, I'm doing a podcast now. Like, let's just watch him just talk about some stuff, just like float outside your body and then watch everything of life. And then, it's good. Then you can kind of direct yourself or where you want to do in experiences in life.
It's crazy. You can just visualize that.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a tool. Yeah. Like, unless someone unless you, like, as you said, you read the book and you did the exercise, it's like, now you've actually learned a tool that you can use. And it's like, whenever you're stressed or you're freaking out, or you got to have a quick check-in. What am I doing? Where am I going? Yeah. And it's like, you literally can like vision yourself doing, like, okay, what happened like the last like 2 months? You can like think of everything in 5 seconds. You figure out what that is. And it's like, oh, this is a decision I need to make, because like decisions are the most important things. Yeah. So and I the reason I get that visualization is, one time I was sitting down in during COVID in a lockdown on I was doing an armory operation with OpCovid, whatever it is, in Melbourne. So we're locked in a hotel for 2 months. So you literally only go out when you do work with the police and everything, and then you go back to your hotel and they deliver food, and it was just so crap. And so it's literally in the hotel, like a little apartment for 2 months. So I was like, I'm going to start doing some meditation. And I did this one where I put everything into it, and I actually floated outside of my body and watched myself sitting there, and I watched these thoughts go in from one in and out, and I was like reading his thoughts as they were going in, and that was me. So I was like, whoa. Yeah, you had a full mystical experience.
Yeah, I was just like, what is this? So
incredible. Yeah, incredible. It's crazy, like the power of that. And people don't think like how strong their minds are. Yep. And like, it's like, well, how powerful and real is it when you dream?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it can affect you. Like you can wake up like sometimes. So literally it's like, they talk about this in some books that I like to read. And it's like, depending on what you're thinking, like makes you essentially, depending on what you're thinking, influences your direct behaviors, things that you say and how you act. Like, even notice sometimes you just walk to the fridge and open the fridge for no reason. You're like, what the fuck am I doing in the fridge?
Yep.
It's like, where'd that come from? Yep. And it's like literally in terms of your own brain's programming and how you're thinking and what you're visualizing will determine like how you act. And like, when you think about food and you start to get like a little bit hungry, then you start salivating. And it's like, that's happening to us with words that we say, with interactions that we do. And it's like, that's why it's so important to like have like a strong like mindset. and strong like visualizations in our brain and like understand the different tools. So like I'm curious, I'm actually really like curious in this question, like in Set the Standard, when you did learn some tools and apply them, what were the ones that you found were the most impactful for you, and how could people who are like listening to this use them?
Yeah, that's a great one. Like I found the King, Warrior, Magician, Lover was a really good way to understand and sort of like choose, you know, when there's a scenario comes up, you know, who do I got to be in this situation to be able to overcome this problem? So, you know, when you're a king, you step up into your leadership. When you're a warrior, you step into, you know, working or getting the shit done that you need. If you're a magician, I'm going to need to create some things or systems and stuff in like business as well. And then lover, this is where I need to connect to my relationship or, you know, relationship with family or friends or partners. So just acknowledging like if I had like a problem in my family, like my dad's doing something stupid and I'm like, all right, I got to step onto my king and just be, you know, sort this out and sort of thing. So, you know, same with a relationship. I need to give more love, show emotions, and yeah, do all that sort of thing. So I found that was one of the big things. I was like, this makes sense because I love my old school, you know, Greek mythology, barbarian, warrior stuff. So I was like, yeah, king, warrior, like I love that. It's like because you have the mage that's sitting there just creating wizardry up and just concoction. You're like, this is my, you know, creation. Yeah, they get that warrior to go in and go to the gym and just be an absolute animal. So, yeah, I really liked the that sort of. That's the one thing I did take away, which is great.
Yeah, I love how you said that. It was like, not what do I need to do? Like you can just tell with the intelligence you learn already. It's like, not what do I need to do to like solve this problem. It's who do I need to become to solve this problem? And now you have like this perfect tool and you understand the dark side, the light side. Have you used any of those to like, have you got any examples where you've like actually used some of those and been like, oh my God, this worked?
Yeah. So I had some stuff up where my father was staying with us, and he likes to drink a fair bit. So, and not abusive or anything like that. He's just alcohol. He's dealing with his own problems and stuff like that. And it started to affect my old relationship with my partner. And you know, I was kind of like, Dad, you need to do this. Like, this is not like you're just stuffing around. He was out the front of ours with a caravan, and just like. You know, living there and then getting drunk, and I'm like, you can't be my dad at the front of my house in a caravan drinking. This is just not. It's
not a good look,
yeah, it's
right?
Not like,
it's not a good look. You're just out there, like,
Dad, you need to sort yourself out.
Gotta hit this camera. There's no sign on the camper van that says Hayden's dad. Like no one knows. You just could be a stranger, just parked there drinking.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, there's obviously so many things. Like a couple of days is fine, but if it's like a week or so and a couple of weeks, and then it starts to affect your relationship with that, and I'm like, all right, I need to step up and, you know, let him know that, hey, this is not what I want to accept. I can't accept this, and we need to do something about it. So I sat him down at the park and like wrote him sort of like a eulogy. I did that sort of exercise where I said, look, I'm going to read you your eulogy if you pass away, because I want to tell you all the things that I.
Good fucking job, dude.
Yeah.
Was that after you did your eulogy?
Yeah. Yeah, I did mine, and I was like, yeah, all right. And
what a great idea.
Yeah. It's just like holding. That eulogy is like, wow. It's like your 80-year-old self. I like to talk to my 80-year-old self too sometimes, as in, you know, like. I'd be like, because sometimes you give yourself the best advice and you give other people better advice as well, but you don't even sometimes always follow it. So when I give myself, for the 80-year-old self, advice, I'm like, well, he's always like, oh, what should I do? He's like, you know what you need to do. I'm like, fuck, I do. I don't want to do it.
They give you the sage wisdom. Yeah, hey, they don't give you the answer. Yeah. They're just like a little bit of encouragement. Yeah.
It's like Gandalf. It was just like, Gandalf, you're fucking right all the time, aren't you? He just knows.
And it's like, it's powerful, and I don't want people to like also turn off to think that like that isn't powerful, because you can literally, like, even with acting, right? And you know, this is so true. It's just like, okay, if I need to give myself advice right now, literally just step into someone who is really wise, like just embody them and just sort of like have that conversation with yourself. And you're like, wow, some of the shit that I can come up with is so crazy when I talk to myself in my mind. What the hell?
Yeah, and I like to ask the question when I step in or something hard. I'm like, what would the best version of myself do? And I just sort of just do that, and it's been working pretty well.
So you're talking to your dad?
Yeah.
Like using the king or the warrior, magician, lover? Or?
Yeah, I stood up into my king. You know, you step into multiple of them when you do an activity. So the activity was like, I might have created the piece of paper to write down this, and I used my lover to express the feelings and everything, and then to my king to deliver it. So
that's so conscious, bro.
Yeah.
That's so I respect that. I gotta respect that. That's so conscious.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I I learned that from you, so it's all kudos to yourself. So
you, bro.
I have that gratitude for you. So thank you.
Thank you, bro.
But yeah, so I sat down at the park and, I just had that piece of paper. I even got my brother to send a video of him doing his eulogy as well. So I was just bringing How
have I not heard about any of this, Hayden? You just took the stuff that we taught you and went like 10x at it, bro.
Yeah. I was like, I need to do this now because King got to step up.
Yeah, King's going to do it.
So yeah, I got my brother. He did the video. So I showed him the video of that. And I said, this is an exercise, Dad. And then I read mine and had a few theories. He had a bit of theories, and he was also like, I've got to be better. And from there, it's hit him from home. He's starting to do little implementations to be that better. It takes a long time for the older generation to get around it. Like, I know from your experience with your father as well. It's the same. That it takes some time, but you will get there. And I think that the hardest thing is being vulnerable to him and just expressing your feeling. Just dropping my shield, give him my expressions, and just tell him exactly true, authentic. And the way you deliver it is just, I guess, what I did is the eulogy. So
yeah. That's how you alpha dad your dad.
Yeah.
There's like, he could try to like, that really like separates the bond of being like, I'm not your son anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, you're equal and probably more advanced than you. Yeah. You say some shit like that and they're just like, oh shit. Like I've been holding on for stuff like my whole life.
Yeah.
I was talking to my housemate today and I was like, we should probably do like a next level, but one was like, bring your dad.
Yeah, that Esquire program or something like that.
Yeah. I was like, bring the dad. I'm like, I wouldn't even need to write an agenda. Like I just need a day.
Yep.
I'd fix everything.
Father-son workshop. That
would be nuts.
Yeah. I think it's also a good thing. Like even though I've had that, like my dad's been absolutely loving to bits. He's the best ever. But it's like, Dad, I want you to be the best. And I've had to. It's good because it's taught me to go. This is not what I want to do. I don't want to follow that path. I need to become someone else. So. Yeah. As much as it does happen to you, it happens for a reason to be able to grow and do that. So for any of the other guys out there that do have that kind of situation with fathers or even worse or with mothers and stuff, it's a good one to act as a challenge and not like, oh, this is shit, this happened to me, I'm a victim and do that. It's
take some responsibility.
Yep. And 10x yourself.
Yeah, because it holds you back from business and everything else. Like if you got that emotional shit, like just hanging on, like I find like for a lot of us dudes, we feel like our dads have to do something first. Or like so that we get permission to do it, because like maybe they didn't do it as a kid, and then like when they finally do it, it's like, oh, now I've got permission to do this now. Like, I know when I was like going on holidays, I kept ringing my dad like, Dad, you got to book somewhere to go. And I felt guilty for going on holidays because he never went to. It's not he never got to. He could afford it, but he never went on holidays. Or we hate our dads so much that we go and do something out of despite, like to despise them and be like, fuck you, I'm gonna prove you wrong, and then like. You get bickering at each other. It's like the whole world's like trying to help you guys separate, like the father son bond, so that you can connect better as like, as like just like really close friends, and having like a conversation like that, like you did, is just the quickest way to just samurai sword. Yeah. Sing. Yeah.
Cut the bullshit. We're just going straight to level 10.
Yeah, it's so cool. So how did learning all of like these things as well, like help you with like the awareness to make decisions like in your business, focus on your business, not distract yourself with partying? Like how did you use these to end up like, really working on your career and making it progress?
Yeah, so there's so many tools in the program. There's like for example, the energy one in module 4, I think it is just optimizing your health, because when you're starting, I have an e-com brand and the fire company as well, and I'm sort of just like juggling them, and then your health sort of slips, and you're like trying to like build them all and like juggle these things. That just optimizing your health, so you have like a routine where you're getting that in box. So once your health is there, and it's like that the hierarchy, man, you get your health sorted, then body, mind, and it goes all the way up. But that was a good one for helping me balance. Business is like getting my health sorted, and then everything sort of starts to follow in place with the steps. So another one's blockages was like emotions. So bringing the awareness, accepting them, and then best dealing with like reptilian brain, human brain, and monkey brain, and knowing when, okay, why have I got so much emotions? Like, why I'm a monkey? It's like, oh, whoa, monkeys act out emotions. What are you doing? That's not a masculine thing. That's you acting out as a feminine, just going rah, rah, like, why are you biting at? And then I always like to go, okay, I'm getting all these emotions, and I'm like, I always catch myself like, hey, monkey brain, shut up, get the human brain back, and then it gets me reset back in. So,
So what like real world things have happened? Tell me some cool stories like in regards to that.
I think it's when I'm getting overwhelmed and I'm just sitting at the computer and I've got so much stuff to do and I'll be like angry and I'm like, oh fuck, I need to do this, I need it, and I'm walking around the house like going to things. I'm not even. It's no order. I'm just going like, I feel like I've just got dementia. I'm forgetting what I'm doing. I'm just grabbing random shit. I'm like, why? I do nothing, and I've got no schedule, nothing planned. It's just all just
feel unproductive as hell.
It's unproductive. I'm staring at the screens, and it's just like, why? I just want to. Yeah,
just headbutt
screen. Yeah,
just that headbutt screens.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah, it's just dealing with colleague, like my old job in corporate. It's like a fire trainer's corporate job. So go to different businesses and stuff, and then things that weren't like working well, and these things. Just the angers, just the emotions, and you just want to act out, and you're like, just bring yourself back down. Is a massive one. So yeah. And then analysing the reptilian, I was probably in the reptilian for 6 months in overseas too. That's why it was so hard to just always survival. So that took a bit to like flush out as well to get back into, you can make decisions and human stuff instead of just acting out in survival. But that's probably another one is being from in the survival area where it's high threat and everything like that, and you're always wired and everything, and then when I got back, it's like, all right, so I went from reptilian survival, and then all the emotions sort of come up from the monkey. So just, and then finally then I'll go into the human because it's the slowest one. So you've got survival, monkey, and then human, and it's obviously reptilian's like instant. Monkey's like that little next bit, and then the human takes a little bit to like process all those emotions and what just happened. So it's like, what the fuck just happened?
I love how you've like figured that out and like you're so aware of it, and like with your decisions, you're like, oh, I'm reacting. Oh, now I'm reacting on emotion. Let me just chill for a second. Oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to talk to Gandalf for a minute. Hang on, guys.
Yeah.
Hayden just having full conversations. Guys, monkey, you, person, Gandalf, right? We need to have a chat.
Yeah. Bring in fellas. Gandalf, granddaddy, come over.
Come in here. We're having a chat, right? Yeah. We're going to send an email. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah. It's like almost like the Lord of the Rings where they've got the one ring and they're all doing that meeting, and then Gimli's like, anger, and tries like break the thing. Gandalf's like, you idiot, why are you doing that?
Yeah, literally. You can get rid of your Gimli.
Yeah. Have a little council of yourself in there. Imagine what your king is, your warrior, your magician, your lover is there, and then act. My warrior is going to be massive. He's going to be huge, and then my magician probably looks like the Yu-Gi-Oh fucking purple dude. What's that?
The evil dude or the white-haired guy?
No,
the actual evil magician. The card.
That guy. That's when I think about a magician. That guy, because I can't remember his name.
It's like dark magician or some shit.
That.
I can't believe I remembered that, bro.
Yeah.
I haven't seen like one Yu-Gi-Oh that long. Popped in my brain. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. And then the lovers, I don't know, he's probably some stud or something like that. It's like Shawn Michaels or something like that. He's on a Heartbreak Kid or something.
What do you think of the king? You got to finish off the set now.
The king, man, he'd probably use just like Zeus.
Yeah.
Something like just Zeus. He's just an absolute boss.
It's really cool, actually. I like the Zeus story because when Zeus stepped into his like most intense kinghood, which is why like with our wheel of King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, he stepped into his kinghood when he ended up, it was like eating or doing something with one of these feminine gods he was trying to bang. Yep. Zeus tried to fuck everyone in Greek mythology, you know what I mean?
He does.
He's fucking everyone. And she ends up like planting herself in his brain and he never gets rid of her. I can't remember. It starts with an M.
It's Medusa.
It starts with an M.
Yeah, Medusa. Yeah, I know.
You know the one? Yeah. Crazy. And then it influences all his decisions, and then he starts making really good decisions because she's just injecting a little bit of love and a little bit of compassion, so he's not being such a fucking tyrant all the time and like ruining shit and banishing Prometheus. Like, dude, Prometheus is a king, get him back. And it's really interesting because that's just a little bit of lover. It's like just a little bit of like focused, I would say, like feminine, masculine energy, if you know what I mean? Because you can love masculine and you can love feminine. Yep. And I feel like that's a very masculine way of loving. And when you figure that out and you can like apply that to all your decisions, it's like that's when you show up as like a proper king. So I think like Zeus is a good example.
Yeah. He also gets hit in the head with the axe and Athena comes out.
Yeah.
It's just so wild that, But
nuts, hey. I like Greek myth. Hitting the head with an axe, Athena comes out. Yeah. He fucking puts Dionysus in his thigh. before he gets birthed, like slits it open and Dionysus comes out. Like, man, Greek mythology is fucking gory, bro.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's so cool. Charges me up though. I'm like, oh, what the, how do we even think of this shit?
Yeah. It's like an ask, what would Zeus do? I'm like, thunderbolt someone.
Right.
He'll actually make a strategic decision on it. And I'd hate to be Hera. Like, just fuck it, that'd be the worst. She's just always like planning shit, and I guess it's Zeus's fault, but
yeah, it is. I feel like she just gets cheating on all the time.
Yeah.
She's just chasing him, and like, you know what's so funny? Like when you think of like the real macho, like alpha dogs who are like that. It's like, you know, that would happen. It's like, you know, there's part of the woman who always fears man leaving and like doing something, and it may not be cheating on his partner with, and I like the mythology for it, with another woman or a woman. It's like cheating on with work, cheating on with scrolling on your phone, cheating on looking at porn, cheating on like no attentions, lack of presence. And Hera just like wanting it all the time, and then when he does give it to Hera, she just turns into this fucking like goddess. It's like Queen like charges up, and like everyone benefits when Zeus is giving Hera energy, and then he's like sneaking around the rest of the time. You're like,
going into wolves.
Yeah, but it tells awesome stories, right? Of like the feminine and the masculine. I find it like fascinates the hell out of me.
Yeah. When I really got into it, because I love that Greek stuff, and when I started, I was like, I'm learning lessons from these things of like jealousy and how they interact in relationships, because that's like, it's sort of like the start of like the universe or whatever they do in the cosmos, but you know how they all interact, and they're learning from their lessons and stuff, and you know Atlas, and you know being an absolute boss, and then Hercules' trials and tribulations through his just journey. When I read Heroes, and it goes on about Hercules chapter, I was like, wow, Hercules has been through some shit.
Yeah.
And it gave me inspiration to every day I was waking up, I was like, fucking, I'm going to be Hercules today.
Did you read that when you were doing Set the Standard?
It also brings back to another thing I really did, a note that I would like to mention was the Temptress. There was a little module in it, and someone was going about the Temptress and how it shows up in, you know, the Temptress will tempt you into porn. You know,
Goosebumps.
Yeah. You know, every time you go drink or something that you're going against your vision or what your purpose is or what you want to do, the temptress is always there tempting you to, you know, just eat that meal, or here's the dessert, go watch some porn of, you know, it's just, there's a temptress there. And I always like to imagine there's a temptress that just tempts you to go do the things that you shouldn't be doing.
We all have our inner succubus.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. I love the tempter stuff because it's like a core part of the hero's journey. I feel like every single section of the hero's journey is like when you dive deep into it, it's like there's this thing that's just so present in our life all the time. And yeah, temptress one is a big one because when you start highlighting like feminine energy and like how good it is and us men, like how we need it, especially if you're a high performer, if you're a high achiever, if you like working hard, if you got 2 fucking businesses and you're trying to manage them and like, you know, and get everything done, and you've got like trauma from army, you know what I mean? Like, right? Yeah, and it was so masculine. It's like, you know, if you haven't got that sort of feminine flow within you, then it shows up in beers with the boys, cuddles, and like, oh, like, fuck yeah, we're in this together. We just completed a deployment. Hell yeah. Like all that feminine energy, like you need that because you've been so masculine, and everything's always going to like balance back and forth, yin and yang. At some point it's going to come in. But when you can notice those temptations, hey,
massive.
Whoa, and then they're everywhere, and you're like, I'm tempted with everything.
Yeah, it's such a balancing act though. Like you go in full masculine, then you go full feminine, and then you're like, oh, I've got to balance. I've been to this for so long, and you get stuck in that, and then you're like, I've got none of this anymore. So it's just, absolutely balancing act. Yeah,
I attack bodybuilding shows. Like when I have a bodybuilding show, I'm like, I'm gonna be so masculine here. In my routine, I'm gonna schedule like sending positive text messages to people, or making sure that I'm doing something really nice for my partner, or make sure that I'm booking in like okay, in my calendar as like sort of like mental noted, I'm right. So from 10 in the morning till 2 is just sex time.
Wow.
Like whatever it is, whatever. Then just somewhere in there, we want to go in there and just like let it flow because I'm gonna goddamn need that. And if I don't let that in, I'll just be so wired all the time.
Yeah, wow. That's how you like realign yourself so you're not get caught up into that masculine. It's just like, hey, it's little reminders to.
Yeah, it's just to consciously think about. And then like, you know, because it's easy when you go to bodybuilding comp because you know that it's coming. Sometimes in business, as you know, it's like you can't exactly, it's a bit harder to plan what's happening for the next. Because sometimes you're like, oh yeah, whoa, we're winning. Woohoo, I'm the money man. Look at all this money coming to me. And other times you're like, oh shit. Yeah. I have to work so hard right now to like crush this. And that's when it gets stressful and overwhelming, and you can't pick those moments because I feel like money's just an energy. You can't control it, right? You can put in wicked structures in place, but it's like you can direct the water. But in terms of like knowing when it's going to tsunami and when it's not, it's a little bit, it's harder to predict.
Yeah.
So when like I find like those things are happening, I'm like, okay, for the last couple of months, I've actually been a little bit feminine. So now this is like focus on masculine. So let's focus on some structure. Let's get some things done and sort it out. But then noticing if I am focusing on the masculine, I'm going to need to be focusing on the feminine. So I notice like this year for me, I've been doing so much masculine shit. Just like, so I was like, going to Japan, book flights to Dubai, book flights to America, just have some trips like throughout the year of just traveling. I'm like, okay, I'm focusing on my business hard for the next like 6-7 months. So I'm like in between, I'm going to go on some holidays to just like let loose a little bit.
Yeah. That is definitely something I need to do as well. It's like just being like, I need to go masculine, build my shit, go home, and it just comes in waves. Like it's like pits and troughs. Like you got to acknowledge when you're in the pit and you're like, I got to fight my way out of here. Oh, back on the trough. Oh, it's cool, okay. And then it just crashes again. And it's like I always ask myself like, when it's really shit and you're like, it's not working out. It's all this stuff, and I usually ask myself, this is where most people would quit. And then that always just realigns me. Or I say, like, this is where I have to show up. And how would I show up in my lowest time? And that's usually realigns me to go, you're good. You go back up there.
Yeah. Right. So I've got a couple more questions as well. What are your biggest temptations? Currently, what are like the biggest temptations?
Oh, I'd say phone distraction. Like just it's the algorithm. It's procrastination, distraction. It's just something that I've got to do a task. I'd rather just go on my phone and scroll for a bit and just doom scroll. And then it's also it's trying to communicate and it's like, oh, I should get girls or like get more value from the temptress of like, I need some self-worth to, build, I don't know what it is, like. To make me
take action or something.
Yeah, make me feel good or looking.
TikTok is a drug. Oh. I don't care what anyone says. Also, because I post on TikTok. And I noticed I got to post and get off. Because I'm like, this is too fun. Like I'm having such a good time. Like, oh my God, I relate to that. Oh, that thing. I'm going to Japan. Look at all these things. I'm like, and then I'm noticing. I was like, okay, I'm giving myself 5 minutes because otherwise I'm not going to get out. I'll give myself 5 minutes and just let my brain like do its thing because like I'm noticing that I'm high. I'm literally high while I'm having this. Like, I can feel it in my brain.
Yep. Oh, I've noticed that. I've got this app, it's Opal, and it's literally like a restrictor. It literally doesn't let you do things. So I've done, like, I don't just check it until 5 to 6 now in the Arvo. But when I used to, like tempted, I was just like, oh, what if I got an Instagram message or what if I got a Snapchat or something? I would like open it. And then I've just like in the morning, check your phone, wake up, like alarms on the phone. So you click that and you're like, oh, tempted. All right. And you open it up. I've just let everyone into my room in the morning. It's like, this is just, it's just you're scrolling. You literally let everyone into your room.
Get out my room.
Yeah, everyone get the fuck out. Like, I should start it off with like, get up, go to the gym, do that stuff, which I generally do. But, I noticed that was affecting my start of my day. And it's like the first 5 minutes you wake up is like something you set intentions for the day. And if you're filling with Instagram and scrolling, you're like, I've just let all these people in on my day in the first thing. So,
God damn.
Yeah, that's probably.
I love that. Temptations, just literally phone. Yep. Get out of my bloody room. Yep. All right, I've got another one. So this one's like, how do you think, what is the best way for men to become the best versions of themselves?
Oh, this is a good one. I actually started finding ways to naturally boost my testosterone. That was a huge one for me because I noticed when I was listening to your podcast about testosterone and like you should have a Rocky in the morning, like fucking ready to go to war. I was like, that sometimes happens, not all the time for me. So I was like, that's a good indication my levels aren't optimum. So I got on the path of, doing cold showers, doing workouts, increasing my protein, all that sort of like all these natural things that I can do to naturally boost it. That helped me with more I've got so much testosterone now that I'm like always like, oh, fuck, let's go.
It's actually a bit scary. I find like some men can't handle the amount of testosterone when you feel it, that it's like, fuck, I need to go do something because this is so uncomfortable. Because it is a lust. It's like a sexual urge and like this energy that just like comes from like your lower body. It happened when I quit like masturbation ages ago. And I remember I wasn't seeing anyone. So I just went for a long time. Like I think it was like 6 or 7 months with like no ejaculation. Yep. And I remember just like the sheer force. And I was like, this is so uncomfortable Like so uncomfortable. Right, gotta focus this fucking energy right now. Cause, hell yeah, you're fucking up there, man.
Yeah. So bringing that in, like that was a big one. The test. The other opposite is the temptress of like I should go do a wank right now because there's some hot chicks on my phone and like I just got so much testosterone. I just want to go. But I'm doing the same. I'm doing once a month now, as in that's only my time period. So it's 12 a year, and then eventually I'll stamp that out. But I have done a few
good job,
months
man.
And everything. So yeah, and
it's full on, eh?
Oh, it's hard, and it's hard probably for all the dudes out there. They're like, I do it once a week or once a day or twice a day. I'm like, fuck, that's just draining. So you're just shooting that energy, and it's just wasted. It's so that was the biggest one. I think that was a good stepping stone for people who want to get to the best, most alpha like dude that they want to be is boost your testosterone because there's so many things in the modern world that literally are taking it away from you, and you just need to get that back. I think, and once that is. I think you can make better decisions. Your health will kidding. You get bigger muscles if you're working out because you'll if you look up natural ways to boost testosterone, it's the first one's like one of those is exercise. So you start getting bigger.
Like exercise and sleep.
Yeah, literally. That was the big one. Sleep. I was doing like 4 hours of sleep until I listened to your podcast. I was like on sleep, and I was like,
"What? Hayden? Oh God!"
I was like,
"Thank you, though."
Yeah, no, it was a life changer. Actually, like. Realized I was trying to be one of those entrepreneurs and hustle, less sleep, whatever. And I was working on my ecom brand at the start, at that point, and I was going to bed at 12, waking up at 4, going to the gym, all that, and I was just, I
love working with the ecom dudes, bro.
It's wild, but 4 hours of sleep, and then I realized I listened to your podcast on sleep, and I was like, man. I am now getting 8 hours circadian rhythm. Let's realign my whole shit. And I'm like, wow, my whole day, I sacrificed 4 hours of that sleep when back in the day. And I'll be like, so sleepy throughout the day. I would fucking do shit all and everything. Then I got my 8 hours and I was like, I'll now achieve my 16-hour bloody window of being able to do absolute productivity. So it's just so many things to change with naturally boosting your testosterone. I think that's the best way to straight go to, because you're going to increase protein and everything.
And it's also dealing with your emotions as well, because a lot of time our testosterone's smashed because we've got all this stress or whatever it is from shit that we haven't healed. But no, I do love working with ecom people because like the hustlers and like the entrepreneurs and the grinder, I'm like, give me you for just a little while. I can just bam, change some shit around. They're like, wow, I'm so much more successful now. And I'm not stressed. And I'm like...
It's like magic.
Yeah, but sometimes having to let go, right? That's the hard part because this emotional thing is like, I mean, what do you mean stop 4 hours? No, what do you mean have more sleep than 4 hours? I'm never going to get anything done. And it's like, I remember a mentor was so funny. I was like, one of my mentors asked, I was like, he was a lot older. I was like, what do you think is like the best way to become successful? And he was like, I don't know, probably get more sleep. And I was like, I just started laughing. I was like, I get it.
Such a big factor. I didn't realize, and because the army doesn't let you sleep much either. Like you go outfield, you do pickets, and you up at late nights. So yeah, I was usually like I was trying to be Batman, like sleep on 4 to 6 hours, and I was actually aiming like 6 hours is my perfect mark. And I was like, no, it's not. Lie to yourself. It's not.
Get one of these. Get an aura. And you're like, God damn.
I've got my these bangers, but I'm gonna get one of those for sure,
dude. Life changing. There was another question I had for you. I love that. Great answer as well, by the way. It's so sick. It was something along the lines of something to do. I wanted to ask something about like not so much like men becoming the best version of themselves, but men becoming superior men through balancing like personal life and business, and like your thoughts on that. Yeah,
I'm still in the process of doing that at the moment with balancing. It's like it's a balancing act, and I know. I'm on the fence about the decision. On the fence about this one where I've listened to some people and they say there is no balance. Some people say there is balance, and the people that say there is no balance, it's like, well, what you got to do is if your business is going shit, then you got to do the business, and then your family might go to shit, then you got to balance that as well. It's just like a balancing game of actually just lifting them up, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's hard. I don't know if you can have it's never going to be equal. I just don't believe it. If there's a guy out there that does it, maybe Corey, you actually probably do that. Take that back.
Well, what are some things I'd like to hear this because I'm gonna magician you.
Oh no.
So like in regards to like communication, emotional intelligence, your awareness, and like the tools that you have learned, was like, how are you using that to make your personal life great and your business great, even when sometimes they're both out of balance?
Yeah, that is probably one of the biggest things is that self-awareness of when that's happening is, you know, because you can get so stuck into doing business in your friendships, relationships, all that sort of thing. You just you're in there, and then having that awareness to just bring yourself out of that decision, make a good decision, step into either king, warrior, whatever you have to do, and then and also it's like a you know, what role you're going to do. These are your emotions. This is how you're acting. It's just all one big sort of ball that you kind of just got to sit there, unpuzzle it for a little bit, and then just decide on how you're going to best deal with it. And us men, we just go straight into like solutions, and this is what it is. And then it's like, nah, you got emotions with that decision. Okay, let's have a sit where you got to be, what you got to do. So yeah, that one it's just like a combination of all those. And once you start nailing them all, these decisions become easier. And yeah, it just.
See, that's the cheat code.
It is. It's the blue. Yeah.
It's literally the cheat code. It's like just like your awareness, your communication, having the right tools. It's like you're kind of always balanced if you're aware of it. You're like, oh, wicked. Like for example, I was having like a crazy month. Like the last month we had like a crazy week, but like we're pretty slow for like the month moving forward. And I just mentioned to my partner, I was just like said to her, I was like, cool, just letting you know, I'm gonna need some support in October because I'm gonna be going balls to the wall. We're going hard. We're gonna be crushing it. There's like a lot of pressure on. Just for like the amount of stuff that I've got to do. So I'm just like letting you know that. She's like, I got your fucking back. I was like, sick.
Yep.
Now I don't have to worry, right?
Yeah.
Right. Just because I said one thing, but I knew instead of letting stress coming aware, it's like, okay, I remain pretty calm, even though like when some stress comes in, I'm like, oh, allow the stress to come up. And then I'm like, ooh, allow the stress to come out. I'm getting Jedi at that shit. I'm getting like real Jedi at it. Yep. So I just sent her a message and she was like, of course, crush it. And I was like, win. I was like, I win. I'm back.
It's easy, done.
Yeah, literally.
That in the bank.
Yeah, I know everyone says it's so hard. I'm like, oh my God.
It's so hard for a dude to say that too. Say, hey, I'm going to be struggling. Like, because we don't want to always, we don't want to say, I'm struggling.
Especially to your girl, because it makes you seem weak and you feel like she's like not gonna like you. But instead, like you say that shit to your girl and like the message back is like, I got your fucking back, crush it. I'm like, all right, that morning wood that was lost, if I had no testosterone, it's back up again.
Yeah. That's that's something as well with you know, like I only ended a relationship in June, like 3-4 months ago. So, that was something that I really acknowledged, that I didn't share much of my emotions and let her know of how I was feeling. And I think that's a big one for dudes, that we just say a logical answer and just be like, yeah, I'm good, and like, yeah, but what do you actually need? We say, I'm good. I need support in the next couple of weeks. Or I'm just feeling shit right now. And that was so hard to just say that.
Good fucking job. Have you been saying it? Getting through it?
Yeah, well, I've ended that relationship now, so it's it was just not working for me at the time. Yeah. But now in my future one,
get the
now,
courage.
Like now I'll have the blueprint from everything that we've been learning and taught. That I'll be able to go, okay, now I can identify these. I now can just show emotion, especially after the events that we've done. I can now give the emotion and just be able to just like, hey, surrender in it and give the, like, it's like a man, you're surrendering, you're giving your sword to the feminine and she's like, I've got your back, and you're like, thank you. And then she gives you a bigger weapon. You're like, I'll go fucking shit.
Literally, that is the best way of explaining it ever. Oh my God. And thanks for saying that, man. Like, thanks for coming to the retreat and like just fucking leaning in and completely changing everything afterwards. Because you just saying that, I feel like every dude listening is like, holy shit.
Yeah, 100%. Like, best thing I've ever done. Like, just fucking do it. I was like, I didn't even have the funds at the time. I was like, I'd rather do this than fucking money will come and go. Like, fucking just spend it and just go do it. And it was like, fuck yeah. I came after that week. I was like, wow. I was like, that was worth it. I was like, that was next level. And I was like, it was called next level for some reason. I was like, yeah, that was hectic. And like, yeah, the dudes that you get from it, the network, like dudes that are just the same boat. We're all in the same boat. And like, it's like when you're like, row, and you're now, but before it was all like people are like over there throwing up on the board and no one's commanding. Then you get a leader and it just starts rowing and everyone's fucking working together and we're like, whoa, we're getting somewhere now. And we get to the island and we're like, now we can celebrate. Otherwise it's like a storm before and So
sick, dude. Yeah. Well, for everyone who's listening, where can they find you? What are your businesses? How can they get connected with you?
Yeah, so Hayden Heath is just my name. So in Instagram, just Hayden Heath. It's got a second H on the end. And my businesses are just run an e-com brand that's just going at the moment. Just
what is
chilling. It's plasma lighters. So
yeah, they're
it's like
sick.
Electric. Yeah, I think
I've got one. Yeah.
Just electric lighter, so no gas. It's just rechargeable. So just sell them online.
What's the brand called?
It is literally called Plasma Lighters.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so it's www.plasmalighters.com.au. And my main baby though is that's why I've sort of parked e-com at the moment, and I'll get into that later. But I'm really building up this company now. It's called Firebolt. So any business or brick and mortar people that have no idea about business compliance and stuff with fire training, evacuation diagrams, fire maintenance, test and tag, and all that. So we sort of do everything with compliance. So if a business has a warehouse and they're like, we've got extinguishers, we don't do training, or we don't evacuate, or we don't have anything to set up like wardens and all that.
You're the fucking guys. Awesome. All listeners, I'd like to leave them one challenge after this conversation. Give them one challenge for them to do that they can take action on now.
I would say download Opal, which is that app, or some sort of app that stops or restricts you, or put a limit on your social media, because that has now 10x to like my productivity. My productivity went up 50% when as soon as I limited, I gave myself non-negotiables. I'm not checking Instagram until 5 till 6 is my window every day, and you know what? Every time I jump on it, Instagram's not catching me anymore. I'm like, kind of like, this is not, I just reply to some people and then I don't have to like sit there scrolling. The more I was on it, the more I was using it, the more sucked in I was getting. So I just put those limiters on, and you'll just see how much life is just so much better with like, especially nowadays where you got Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, like Facebook, all that stuff. There's just so many temptations. So why not just restrict the fuck out of them and go do your life productivity vision. Like that's more important than trying to like talk to some girls or do whatever, or just scroll and doom scroll and watch every other entrepreneur get heaps successful. So just fucking focus on you and get there. Until you're there, then fucking, then you can do what you want. But for me, that's how I go. But yeah, I'd also like to thank you as well with everything you did. Like my personal development journey was all started from yourself. So I just like want to give you heaps of like love and gratitude that I appreciate you, brother, and just everything that you've taught in health and everything, from personal development to the retreats and everything that you've done and programs and everything. It's just been absolute like, yeah, if you want to jump into it, you're the man. So I just want to give you that one. So thank you.
Dude, thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot, because it's like not often that you get like the crazy recognition from that. So
yeah.
Thank you, bro. Thanks for trusting me.
No, yeah. It honestly, like everything, like Greek myth, like magician, warrior, bloody man of symbols, all that stuff, like superior man, like everything is just stemmed from your way that you've cut all this information down and gave it in small chunks for us to actually understand, instead of you've done that so many hours on top. And imagine on the computer just doing that. And I'm like, that is so much work. And like, yeah, just really appreciate that, man. So
thank you, bro.
No worries.
I feel that big time.
Thank you.
Love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Sweet. Well, that's it.